Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The New York Yankees have had a rough season, but even last in the AL East puts you within shouting distance of a wild card. Can the Bronx Bombers still make it to October baseball? Also, will Geno Smith really do it again in Seattle? And Daniel Jones is going to pay off his big contract by throwing for 4,000 yards this season.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
Coming into the season, the New York Yankees had aspirations of competing for the AL title. Now they're trying to figure out how not to finish DFL in the AL East, something that they took one step toward last night in beating the Chicago White Sox, a team desperately trying to give away their best players at the deadline. So not exactly the biggest accomplishment of all time. Stacey Getsoulias from Locked On Yankees has been following this weird Yankees season so far, Stacey. And we've talked a couple times, checked in with you over the last few months, and you keep saying, okay, well, it's the injuries and there are some of these issues, but it's going to get better. It's going to get better, we think. Well, not better.
Right. And it is weird. And I've been saying that about the entire baseball season for a lot of teams. It's just a really weird season. But for the Yankees, yes, it's, I mean, to be fair, yes, there's still injury issues, but it's the roster construction ultimately that messed things up this season. When you have Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who's doing a great job this season, but when you have him play every position, including relief pitcher, except first base and catcher, there's a problem.
So I think that is something that Yankees fans have been on about, is some of the managing they have not been pleased with. And it's not just some of the decisions, it is the tone of Aaron Boone and what is coming out of this organization. So are you surprised this is where we are, that number one, that the manager is the same, and number two, that nothing has really changed?
I'm not surprised, because Hal is almost the complete opposite of his father. I mean, and I don't want to be one of those if George were alive people, but honestly, if George were alive, I think the Yankees would have had 3 managers at this point this season with the way they've been playing. He definitely, George would not have accepted that sweep against the Astros in the ALCS. Boone would have been gone after that. And it's just, as someone who's been watching the team for so long, the difference between Hal and his father, the differences are so stark that it's disturbing to it. He cares about money. As long as the Yankees are drawing fans and making money, they will say, we're trying to win. We have a championship caliber team. No. And we're seeing right through it as Yankee fans. We're not taking the gaslighting anymore, because that's basically what Hal and Brian Cashman have been doing to Yankee fans the past couple of seasons by saying, oh, we're fine. The playoffs are a crapshoot. As long as you get in, you have a chance. No, because you don't have a team that can get past the ALCS. Sometimes you can't get past the wild card. Sometimes you can't get past the division series. So until Hal maybe sells, but I don't think that's going to happen. Until they get rid of Cashman, this team is not going to win anything significant anytime soon.
So even if they say turn this around a little bit, sneak in as a wild card with the talent that they have, and we've talked about this, if they're healthy, this is still a formidable team in certain areas. You think the flaws of construction are just too great in the postseason?
The flaws of construction and Aaron Boone's managerial decision-making will doom them again in the playoffs if they make it. But I'm pretty much thinking I'm going to have a stress-free October for the first time in a while.
If you had a time machine, Stacey, and you could only go back and advise Hal Steinbrenner on roster construction back in, hot stove time of this past offseason, what would you have said to him? Like, hey, if we could have just done this one or two things, we'd be in a much better spot when I'm talking to you in mid-August.
Ooh, well, this past off season, they should have gone after Brian Reynolds. They really should have. They needed a left fielder. They didn't need a left fielder that was going to hit 50 home runs. They just needed someone to play the position, and they've had so many guys fill in that spot. I really want to go back to the offseason where Bryce Harper was available and talk to Brian Cashman and say, sign him, because that whole we already have 6 outfielders thing really worked out well for the Yankees, and not having Bryce Harper was a really good decision.
Stay up to date all year on the New York Yankees by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Yankees on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Thanks for making Locked On Sports Today your first listen. Coming up, Geno Smith made an inspiring comeback. But will it be too good to be true? Before we get to that, the relationship between Jonathan Taylor and the Colts continues to fracture. Football season is about to kick off, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to win all season long, because right now, when you bet on a Super Bowl winner, you get bonus bets every time they win in the regular season. Just pick any team to win the Super Bowl, and you'll get bonus bets for every victory. You can use your bonus bets on point spreads, player props, totals, whatever you want. You can also bet on the daily baseball action. The Baltimore Orioles and Houston Astros square off, with the Orioles slightly favored. FanDuel has the O's minus 124 on the money line. You can also combine prop bets with any game to make a bigger same-game parlay for even bigger payouts. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and start earning bonus bets with America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. All-pro running back Jonathan Taylor has left Indianapolis Colts training camp to continue rehabbing his ankle injury off-site, according to a report from ESPN. Injured players are customarily expected on